part 8 of how place names in England got their names. So I'm in the far north of England, like on the borders with Scotland basically, and that's Cumbria and the Anglo-Scottish borderlands, where things are really interesting because they start to get entangled with Scottish history. Many of the names in the far north have ancient Brittonic and pre-Celtic layers, so the oldest names here predate the Romans and may even be pre-Celtic. They're often linked to rivers, hills and valleys. For example, Eden means river, which is probably ancient for place of rushing water. This was also the frontier of the front line of Roman Britain, and Hadrian's Wall ran across the region. Many of the place names sit on owned Roman forts and roads, so Carlisle from, wait for this, Luguvellium, possibly the fort of old god Lugus, later adapted into Old English Carluel, fort of Luel, and then it transformed into Carlisle, and Bra, from Old English Bra or fort, which is often the site of Roman stations. There is an Old English influence. The Anglo-Saxons did arrive here very much later compared to the south, so their influence is less, and it's also hybridized with Celtic terminology. And there's also a really strong Norse influence in the area, as Vikings came in from Norway via Ireland and the Isle of Man and settled from the 9th century onwards. So Fell, for example, means mountain. That's how we get the name Scafell Pike. So from the late Middle Ages to the 17th century, the borderlands were pretty fraught politically. They were plagued by border ravers, which were raiding clans with both English and Scottish ties. And family names and strongholds sometimes became place names. For example, Armstrong, Graham and Elliot families. And castles and fortified farms gave rise to Hall, Tower and Peel, which were small watchtowers in terms of place names. So the strife at the borderlands, this was a perpetual war zone between England and Scotland until the union of the crowns in 1603. But it is also such a remote and isolated place that the landscape kept its older linguistic influences alive longer than more interconnected parts of England. I hope you enjoyed that series on how place names in England vary and what the relationship to history actually is. If you would like me to do Scotland or Wales or anywhere else, then please let me know.